All right, it's about a minute after. Let's get started. Good morning and good afternoon. We're really delighted to welcome you to this global audience to our very first Ask R&D webinar. I'm Nicole Ritchie, and I'm head of the product marketing for Adabas and Natural, and I'm really delighted to be your moderator for today's subject, natural syntax and runtime. Please be aware that today's session is going to be recorded. So, for today's agenda, we are going to spend the first half of the session focusing on pre-selected topics that you guys have submitted earlier. The second half of the session, we're going to open up the mics and we really want to ask you to engage with us on topics that you'd like to ask R&D directly. But first, a few housekeeping topics. How to ask questions. During the pre-selected topics session, we invite you to ask questions using the chat on the screen. We'll pause after each speaker and ask them the questions to follow up before we move on to the next speaker. During the live Q&A segment afterwards, please feel free to either use the chat or raise your hand and open your microphone to ask any questions in person. We also invite you to come on camera as well. We'd love to see you. Next, what type of questions is R&D entertaining today? Well, this is a very technical session focused on natural for ZOS. However, some of the topics are also relevant to the other supported platforms, but realize that the experts on this call today are your natural on mainframe experts. Now, this team wants you to ask tough questions. Save the basic ones for the tech community or tech channel, but think about the hard questions you might want to engage in a dialogue with R&D. Now, also a special note, Natural One is not part of this session, but some of the topics will be presented using the Natural One IDE. So don't forget to check your mic and keep that on mute unless you're speaking, and your camera off for right now. So I'd like to share with you some information and quick links that have been pulled together by the Senior Director of Natural Product Management, Ellie Cohen. Ellie has provided us a couple of really great links and resources here. As you may or may not be aware, there's a new platform called AHA, where we invite you to share your new ideas for product innovations. Many of the ideas you've submitted already have been released, and many more are in the pipeline and expected to be released soon. The Tech Forum is also a great place for you to share your experiences or ask other experts and your peers from all around the world how to do something. So make sure you give that a visit. In addition, we've recently launched a GitHub project where you can contribute code samples or look for code samples and ideas yourself. In addition, we're getting ready to launch our October release. Those roadmap slides and release information will be published next week on the links provided here. But have no fear, while there's a lot of links and details here, I've got a suggestion. If you just remember one URL, developer.softwareag.com, you'll be able to find the Natural Developer Center, where there are hyperlinks to all of the assets that we just shared with you on the previous slide. You can get to them from that site. In addition, this site also gives you a quick link to the training resources that are available from Software AG. The Learning Portal offers you free self-paced training, certification and badging classes, and ways to request training services that you could be using at your organization. So now with that, and no further ado, I'd like you to meet the team and get to the topics you are actually here to hear about. So please welcome the head of the Natural for Mainframe Research and Development team, Achim Lotz.
Yeah, thank you, Nicole, for the warm welcome and the introduction words. And let me also introduce the other colleagues which are today in the call. And I will start with the kernel part of Natural. So we have Thomas Frischmann in the call today. He's in charge for the Natural compiler and also a very deep runtime expert for Natural. Together on the compiler works Philipp van Koppennoller with Thomas. We also have Stefan Liel in the call today. He's in charge for Natural Mainframe Quality Engineering and also our internal configuration management tools. They are all based on Natural. And we have two product developers of additional products. We have Satya Kulkarni in the call today. He develops Natural Security, and we also have Rahul Kumar in the call to do entire operation development. So that are the colleagues who are with me in the call today. I would guess we have many decades of natural knowledge in this call today, so hopefully we can answer most of your question. But Nicole, you gave me a hard task with the hardest question, so we may think about that. So, but let's first start with some pre-asked questions. And there was one question related to performance of database calls. And for that, I would like to hand over to my colleague, Thomas Frischmann. Thomas, can you please take over?
Yeah, hello. I tried to share my screen. I hope it works. Do you see anything?
Yeah.
Can you see it? Yeah?
I can see it, Thomas.
Okay, thank you. This was a question asked by a customer in Austria. He has trouble with why it doesn't work here. All right. Yeah, now it goes. He wants to improve the performance of a program with a large number of store update statement. And the underlying use case was he has a batch shop that runs, I think, once per month it's something like a month closing or so. And what is special, it makes about 3.5 million store and update statement and runs for 160 minutes. This is his base problem, and he wants to slow down this runtime, I would say, in a significant way. Yeah, what he can do is the question. Yeah, the first, this is how it usually works. Many programs are doing stores, and then they commit the store directly with an ET. Means the number of calls sent out in this case is n multiplied 2, and this is a usual way of operation. What we can do to improve the speed is first to, in this case, we have always a store and then an ET, and this in a loop of, in this case, more than 3 million. And an improvement could be to count up the stores and to have a counter here that only makes an ET after every 50 stores, means the number of Adabas calls is more close to n, means the number of stores, and n transaction is only executed for every 50 stores. Yeah, if the record length is not too high, means the data inside this record is more or less small. The execution time is we expect is significant better if you do it this way. Yeah, I have tried this out at my site with a small program, and I just get 30% of the runtime than before. But I admit there was no real data processing inside, only a store and ET. Yeah, it was a small programming snippet. This was one thing he could do. At the end, let's check what else can be done to improve this. I have talked to some guys of the Adabas development team, and they told me that a couple of statistic data is written at end of nucleus runtime, mean on shutdown of Adabas. A couple of statistics are printed out, and he has told me that if this nucleus includes this end of month job with a huge number of store update statement, maybe this statistics is good to find some improvement. If, for example, some buffer pool sizes and other areas could be changed in size to run this in more with more speed. But this should be sent to the Adabas support, and together with the development team, they could look over if there's any chance for, I would say, Adabas tuning for this possibility. Yeah, I admit this is a very common answer, but it's not so easy to to give a hard tip that works in any case. It's something you have to investigate, but there are things you can look at. Yeah. So this is this one, and maybe I should step over to another thing I want to tell today. Moment.
Hi, Thomas. Would
Yeah.
it be possible to ask a quick question on the topic
Yes.
you just gave?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
The question was, will DRS DStat before after month end job provide similar statistics?
Yeah, the only statistics you get is when the nucleus goes down. Other statistics, I don't know. I would say I'm not a real Adabas expert. That's where the hints and tips the Adabas people who have to do with the development. I know this better from internal. The only thing I know is to make the condensed ET to 50 store statement. Yeah, I'm not an expert who can exactly answer questions on what is produced by Adabas here. Yeah,
No problem. I'll be capturing those questions, and we'll look them up and get answers back to the team after the event.
Yeah.
How about I have one more question for you, and then we'll go to your next session. What about release indices before the program runs and rebuilding them when the program ends?
Yeah, maybe I can take this question. So that's another one going to Adabas, and that is really also an option, of course. However, that are Adabas-specific topics, and therefore, Nicole, I suggest we keep those, and maybe a session with Adabas performance tips might be a good one to follow that up more detailed. But we should not answer questions here in this round which are not yet confirmed by the Adabas development team.
Excellent advice. I'll take that in consideration. Thomas, if you'd like to go ahead and move on to your next topic, that'd be great.
Yeah, you see it?
There's one more in the slide in the chat asking why 50 and not 100 or 200. What's the advantage of a larger number?
I think it's I would say a question of the mathematics. Yeah, if you would have just 10, yeah, you save a lot of time. If you double this to 20, you can only save from the remaining stuff. So in usual case, 10 or 20 or 50 is really enough. When you double this to 100, the saving is very, very low. Yeah, it has not a good probability with regard to the number you're counting up. With 10, you save a lot. With 20, a little more. But with 200, a very little more. Yeah. So this, therefore, I have just used the 50 because it's a over the number, and it was not turned out in any measurement or so. It's just a proposal. Yeah. So now I switch over to read with Multifetch. I'm also in charge for database calls sent to Adabas, and for many users, execution speed is always an interesting thing. Therefore, I want to highlight something that perhaps is not in everyone's mind, which is called Multifetch. So I go ahead. Doesn't react here. A little moment. My paging does not work here. Sorry. Once again.
Sometimes, Thomas, on the lower left, there's some sort of hidden forward buttons on the PowerPoint you could press with your mouse.
Yeah. Once again.
Pressing the space bar is also normally progressing forward with the PowerPoint presentation.
Don't get it. Doesn't react on this.
Thomas, what about if you sort it out and I jump in for the next topic in the meantime?
Yes, do it, and I try it again next one.
Okay. So then let me continue with the next topic. And the question we got for that was, what's the difference between the read-through and the read-to? And for the read-through, you could also write read ending at, and we were asked to show some examples to explain that more detailed. So here's one example with a read-through statement. So I've used our example file and start with U and have some ending value. And now if I look at the database, I have two records starting where the names start with U. And now is the exciting question, which name do you expect after the read loop? And maybe, Nicole, we can wait for a few seconds to have an answer or a few answers in the chat for this question. Please let me know when you see something in the chat, because I don't see the chat at the moment.
There's been Unger was the response we received.
Unger, okay. So let's resolve that. The answer is not Unger, but it's surprising Berlin. And let me explain why. And also show the comparison to the two first. So if we change the THRU with a 2, then the result would be Unger. And that can be easily explained if you look at the documentation and compare the read through or ending at option with a 2 option. So when we specify through or ending at, only the start value is applied to the database, but not the end value, and the end value is checked by the natural runtime system. And in the other case, the 2 option, both values are applied to the database, so the start and the end value. So that's the difference. Now let's have a closer look at the Adabas commands in the background. So if we use read through, then we get, in this case, 3 records. We get the Underwood, we get the Unger, and we also get the next record already. And the next record, that was Valtin as a name, that is this ISN 34. So, and that's the reason why we have, after the read loop, already the next record, because we must send the next command to Adabas and then get the next record back and then see, we have already exceeded our through value, and therefore we have already filled the record with the next value. And in this case, it's the next name in the sequence. If we compare that with the 2 option, then we also do the commands to Adabas. So we have 3 L3 commands, but the last one, that get immediately response code 3, which is an end of file situation, and nothing changes. So no more record is returned from Adabas in this case. If you have a closer look at the search buffer, so in the first case about the read through, we see a search buffer which just contains one field, that's the start value, and the value in this case is U. And in the second case, we provide 2 values. We have the starting value and the end value. So, and if you also look at the value buffer for the search, then we have the U, that's the starting value, and we have U followed by C's at an end value. So that's the reason why in one case we get already the next record back, which is after our through value, and in the other case we really get the last record back and have it still in the data section of our defined data. So that's the difference between two options. Are there any questions related to that?
Not at the moment.
So then thank you, and back to Thomas. Hope your presentation works.
I come back and I hope it's now better. You see it? Ah, yeah. You see it?
And it's moving.
Yeah. Ah, yeah. Great. So once again, for many users, execution speed is always an interesting thing. Therefore, I want to highlight something that perhaps is not everyone immediately remembers. It's called multifetch. When you do a read, find, a histogram, the standard way to pull in the records from Adabas into your program is a one record per loop mode. Of course, this is solid and stable, but can take some time if a large number of database records is being processed, especially when only few operations are applied, like this happens here in this program. When only few operations are executed to the fields in the loop, the access time to get the records from Adabas one by one can represent a high time share. To speed up such a programming case, the use of a good old Adabas feature should be considered, named as multifetch. So multifetch can be used to speed up all existing Adabas loop constructs, which are find, read, and histogram. However, it can only be used for read-only loops, means when no delete or no update is applied to these records. A good thing is the use of multifetch does not require significant changes in your program. Only the multifetch clause you see here in red color must be added to the database loop statement. It is clear you can only save time when a more or less high number of records is read inside the loop. The rule is the more you read, the more you save. Depending on some conditions, such as the multifetch factor is a 10 here in the sample program, or the number of size of fields inside the record, you can expect double the speed or even more. The way it is realized is the opportunity of Adabas to receive many results records with one physical call. Since a natural program has only space inside the data area to hold one record, all the additional overhanging records are automatically stored into an extra thread buffer named as mulfetch. On every loop cycle, Natural checks if there are still records inside the mulfetch buffer. If yes, the record is moved over into the program data area as if the record had been read directly as unique record from the database. If the mulfetch buffer has run empty, a physical call goes to Adabas and the next chunk of records is received. We know the test-dblog is an important debugging tool used to test out which database calls are sent out by an application and which records, means ISN, were received. Therefore, test-dblog makes also records visible pulled in from the mulfetch buffer. So we have one real test example, the same read loop. You see, I'm just reading a couple of records. These are about 36,000 without further operation on this. And you see, with the different tries, with no multifetch, with 10 or 100, the numbers are slowing down dramatically. Yeah, I have absolutely no field processing inside here, but this documents how quick it can go when you use Multifetch. It's a real huge benefit. Some things you should know: the amount of data inside the Multifetch buffer is limited to 32K. Therefore, the multifetch factor, which is represented by N here, is to be reduced in some cases to fulfill or to follow this rule. The multiplication between the size of the record means the number of fields included in this record. This must not be higher than 32K. And this means that you may have a smaller multifetch factor in use than specified, because this is done automatically without any error messages. So be aware the multifetch gets many records in one bunch and passes them one by one to the program. So it can be that a record is not quite current when operated, as it was retrieved, means read from the database, at the last multifetch access, which really goes to the database. Besides, the non-update limitation means read with no hold. You cannot use multifetch either for read with a dynamic sequence option, but I think this is more or less a rare case in your program. So next slide is it shows up how a multifetch call is presented in the testDB log screen. A real call to the database, these are the red lines, contains a M here in the command option, whereas records took from the multifetch buffer are indicated with a smaller character here, and so it looks quite same than when the record runs without multifetch. And you have the direct relation between the records, means the ISN, which are running into your read loop, and so this is then a good presentation here. So that's all I want to show you today. This was a tip: use multifetch whenever possible. And our measurements show it is much helpful when you use it in conjunction with a histogram. Yeah, it's absolute turbo speed in this case. Yeah. So that's it for me. Further questions?
Excellent. No, there's no questions, but everyone can check the chat for some additional hints provided by Lucas. And I think to keep up, well, Lucas, would you like to speak? I see your hand.
Yeah, Tommy, one question. You say multifetch is not applicable for update and deletes. Yeah, I know that. But if you really have a program, a natural program with a read loop, which makes, let's say, deletes, and you use multifetch, are you suppressing it? Because indeed, if you would not suppress it, it would slow down Adabas and not speed it up. Is natural suppressing it if natural notice that there is a delete inside of a multifetch read loop?
No, at compile time it rejects it. Yeah,
it rejects.
Yeah, it is not a hidden do not use multifetch because there are updates, but when you compile it, the compiler checks that this read loop has to read the records with hold because there is a following delete. And if it sees and it finds out that the multifetch is provided, it complains and sends out a compiler error. Because in the other case, it would be accepted but never worked. Yeah, this is
it would slow down Adabas. We can talk later, maybe. I have seen today a program which is exactly doing that, but it is compiling. So we have to check that. Thank you.
Okay, so I go out. Yes.
So the next speaker in this round is Raoul.
I guess there is one question.
Yep, there was one question.
Question?
The question is, can you use mainframe if 2 reads in a program?
I think
No, multifetch. Can you use
Multifetch. Yes, you can. The multifetch buffer called mulfetch, because this is a physical name. You also see when you use the bus command, it is bigger than 32K, but the limitation is only for one read loop. Means you can have nested loops and both work with multifetch. Yeah, it's not a problem of the mulfetch buffer inside the natural thread, but it's a problem of the record buffer, which might not exceed 32K in the Adabas world. Yeah. That's the limitation, and therefore you can have, if you like, 3 or 4 nested reads with multifetch. This is possible. Okay.
Okay, as there are no more further questions about the multifetch, then I suggest we switch to Raoul. And Raoul will present a new functionality which we provided with Natural 9.2, and that might not be known by everybody yet. Yeah. Switch to you, Raoul.
Okay. Hi, everybody. So I'll be talking a bit about the compress with edit mask, a new functionality that has been added in Natural for Mainframe 9.2.1 and is going to be added in Linux with this current release that's happening in October. Okay, so let's start. So before looking at the enhancement to compress with edit mask, let's have a look at the sample program from the old way. Okay, so this is the sample program that I have, a very small sample program that I've written to demonstrate the old way, how it was done before. So the first thing that anyone will notice here is a lot of temp variables that is used, right? Oh, isn't it? So if you look a bit further, you'll see there are a lot of move edited as well, because we want to move that, get the output in a desired format. So that's why we had to move everything to the temp variable. And then you'll see that we have this compress statement, which uses a temp variable to compress everything into the result and then display the result. Okay, so let's see the output. So the expected output, as you can see here, that's what we got. So hash A and all the variables, and it's in a specific format. Now, it was an entry from an AHA entry from one of our customers in Australia as to why can't we mask the variables in the compress statement itself instead of defining a variable and going multiple, writing multiple lines here. Okay, so which actually seemed very interesting to us as well, and that's what we did. So what we did was we enhanced the compress with edit mask, and let's see now the example of the new functionality that came up. So this is the compress statement. The first thing I can say here is, which is interesting, is between define data local and end define. You can see there's no temporary variable used. Yeah. The second thing that you see is that it reduces the complexity because we don't have move edited statements there. So there were 4 move edited statements used here, and we don't have that anymore. This in turn also improves the performance, because with 8 less lines of codes, we are actually improving the we have less number of lines in a program. So this okay, and here we can see the output. So this is the exact output that we got with in the old way, but the only difference is that we have less number of lines, which was used to create this output. I can show you this in Natural 1 as well. Let me see. So I have a code snippet with the old way. So we have these temp variables here. We are using move edited and then compressing it and to get the result. So I'll just run the program and let's see what the output is. So this is the output. We also have the new program where we have only 15, 12, 13 lines of lines written, and it gives the exact same output. See, so you're getting the exact same output for fewer number of lines, and this is a very practical application. Anytime we've used these when we wanted to send a report or we wanted to print an output with my time in Standard Bank, we used to use this compress all the time. So we use this feature all the time, but then since we never raised an AHA request, and we are happy that the AHA request was raised by our customers and we actually took it and this was done. I think I have a question already. So the NAT version is required for this feature. So I would ask, is it Unix, natural for Unix or natural for mainframe? Which operating system you're looking for? It's from Bill. Mainframe. So mainframe, it's 921. So with mainframe 921 that was released in October 2022, we have this. Yeah. Okay, so that is it for my presentation. And do we have any other questions?
No, there are no more questions at the moment.
Okay, so if there are any
Rahul,
other questions,
maybe you can mention also in which version it is released on Open Systems. I think it's 931, or?
Yeah, it's 931. So on Open Systems, I'll just put it on the chat as well. The mainframe version and the Open Systems version. Okay, so that people will know. Okay, so I'll stop sharing and back to you. Thank you.
Yeah, then the next colleague in this round is Stefan Diehl. He will provide information how to consume a REST API with Natural. Stefan, you might be muted.
Sorry. Yes, I wanted to speak about this topic, which may be interesting for some people, because we were heading the problem, and I want to go shortly to the background of the thing. We are using Jira here in Software AG for our bug tracking, and we had an old interface which
You're
used
not
the SOAP.
yet sharing your slides, Stefan. Would you like to
I'm not
share?
sharing. Oh, I'm deeply sorry. So I hope it's now working.
Yeah,
Fine?
okay. Yeah.
Okay, I'm
Looks
sorry.
good.
As I said, we used the SOAP XML interface from Jira before and used request document, which is a probably known command to get the data and passed it with XML. But Jira changed this interface from XML to REST. And now we had a little bit of a problem because we didn't want to change a lot of our environment. But how to progress and still use it. And our solution was, we still use request document to get the data, and we use a small own written natural program which passed the JSON into an internal structure which is looking like the old one, and we're using it. Maybe you know, and I show it here on a special things, that in iTrack you can, for example, also get information about your user ID. This is the example I wanted to show. You see, it's my user ID here in the company, and this is the data which is stored in Jira about it. And as I said, we use the request document to get the data from the Jira interface. This is the statement which we use. And then we do, as I said before, it was parse XML, and now we use a natural subprogram to flatten it down. In the future, we plan, I can say that probably to implement something like parse XML or parse JSON into the natural syntax, but that will be maybe in the next version of natural. So as you see, as a example, this is the module to get the data with request document. That's a central module which I've written. Originally got the whole block of the data from the SOAP XML. Now it gets the whole data from the REST API, and this is the unparsed JSON data. You see, this looks exactly like the data you get from the iTech interface if you call the data directly over the URL. And then I have written, we have written a small natural program which flattens that to internal structure and takes this JSON data from the first thing in the input and creates an internal field table of it. The field table looks like this one. It's level type, O for object, blank for normal object, A for arrays, and a field name and a value. And then we can use that one for a further third level program, which then analyze the data. And just to show how it works, I have here a small example. I put in my data and get back my data. And I would like to show that also on a small program. Just give me a short second. Here is the program, and if I'm running it, and I hope you believe me that it's directly executing getting the data from our Jira interface, I'm typing in my user ID and I get the data back. That's it. Mostly, as I said, at the moment it requires our own written program for passing the data, but we will in the future try to put it into the natural syntax. That was the main thing of my demonstration. If there's any questions to that, please ask them now. No further question, then I will hand back to you, Achim.
Yeah, thank you, Stefan. Then we would also like you to show a new command, which is a which command, and this is done by Satya.
Okay, so let me share my screen. Just a minute. I hope you can see my screen.
I can see it.
Okay, so let's begin. So we have introduced a new system command. The command name is which, and the intention or the uses for this command is basically we would like to find out the objects at runtime in library search order. And this would be also useful for the people who are developing their application on a big scale with multiple step libs, and they would like to know the module which is present in the module where it is present, the DB ID and the FNR respective with that object. So if you want to identify this or find these objects in the runtime, then this command is really useful. The second use case, what we also identified during the experience, that sometimes customers use the official delivered APIs or user exits to their own libraries for their private application purpose. And when they upgrade their version, their old APIs are not updated because they are not in the impl list. So most of the times it happens that when they try to execute the application, they say that it was working earlier, but now it's not working. So there is something wrong in the behavior. So sometimes it is also useful to find out with which object you are currently running and what is the exact execution going on. So that's why we have which command here. This is introduced in the newly this October release. So it will be released in open system for 9.3.1, and for mainframe it will be released on 9.2.2 version onwards. Regarding the format of this which command, it will be part of the documentation, but I will just explain it here how it looks like. We have which as a keyword for this command, then followed by object name and an optional parameter called as full. So basically, which command asks for an object name to be found out in the library search order. So if this full option, I will explain it in the demonstration or the next slides, how it will look like. But this is the optional parameter which you can specify during the command line. If you don't specify it, by default, it is act as the which object name. And if you want to look about the help description or the help text, what this which command is exactly doing, then you can simply type which, then followed by blank, and then question mark. So you will see this documentation under the system commands in our official documentation. Let's quickly go ahead, and I will explain it here a little bit from Natural One point of view. So when you have mapped your server in the Natural server, then you have actually created your own workspace to work with your libraries. When you have created your own project, you might have several libraries within your project. If you want to know, or if you want to execute which command now, so you just go to the library node, then perform a right click here. Then you will see this pop-up menu. In that, you go to the Natural One and then Tools and Utilities. So once you select these tools and utilities, all tools and utilities are listed. But if you want to just filter out the tools and utilities, then you can use this search function. And you can, when you type the which command, then only this which command is listed here. After that, when you want to execute it, you can just click on the execute button. But when you click on the which command, you will see also this option, which is specified on the right-hand side. And here you will see when you have invoked the which command from a library node, then by default, this library name will appear here in which platform it is working. There is also, this is a default one. So if you just execute which command, then it will execute it from the test A library in this example. But if you want to change the library in a runtime, then you can just specify the library name here under the library box. And then the which command will be executed from this library perspective. And if you execute the which command from the project node, then by default, it will be executed from the system library, system app user. Okay, just a short description. We also have provided a short description here how this which command works. Then let's go ahead, and I will also explain another point of view how you can invoke this which command. So basically, sometimes you will also see this natural commands console for mainframes window. This is where, if you don't see it, then you can simply enable it from the Windows, then show view. If you click on others, then just try the console, and then you select this console window. And under this console window, there is a special command console provided only for mainframe, where you can invoke direct commands from this window. So from here, you see that on the left-hand side, there is a library name. In the brackets, what you see is the mapped server. And on the right-hand side, after this get assigns, you can actually specify the commands which you want to execute. In our example, we have provided which command. So this is how also you can execute which command from console. And the thing is, it is only available for mainframe. The next one is when you invoke which command without any object name, then you will see this pop-up appear on your screen, on your I/O screen, that it will ask you for the object name. And it will also ask you for this full option. By default, this full option is selected to yes. That means you are going to display the complete information. When you provide an object name, then it will start searching from the current library. So in my example, it was mylib. And then I have defined a set of step libs. Maybe you can consider about a natural security session where you have defined different step libs to your library. And then it will go through this library search order through your step lib list, and also the system step libs, which are added at the runtime. So it will check this object name. You can see it here, this information, search object, and this the object which we want to search here. And when it finds out the object, only then this information will be displayed. And we have here information about the cataloged object or the saved object. And that's why how we differentiate, because sometimes it is also possible that only cataloged object is present. So it will be also easier, or it will give a nice view to the user to understand which object is present here. You can also see in the entire list, there is a list of library, then DBID and FNR. Then this is a natural module type. So for example, here N means it is a subprogram. And then we have message. Just to explain a little bit more here. So if the library is protected, for example, in case of national security, it is protected for this XXXX user, then you will see this message, the library access is denied. And in such case, the DBID and FNR information is not displayed. This is for the security purpose. So this is the explanation about which command with full yes. But if you execute the same which command with full no, then you will see only one line message that it will just search through the LSO, library search order, and whichever is the first found object, then it will be displayed here along with the library name, then DBID and FNR. So this is basically the which command. And since I am the part of national security, so this which command is protected under the command restrictions. So these are the typical the allowed or disallowed functionality we have under the national security. So you can decide whether which command should be allowed for specific user or not. And you will find this which command under the command restrictions. To go there in the command restrictions, maybe you already know it, but for those who are new to national security, I'll just explain them. So when you go inside the national security, then you can go to maintenance. Then you have library maintenance. Under the library maintenance, when you select a particular library, you can go to the additional options, then go to the restrictions, and in that restrictions, you will find the command restrictions. So to just simply activate it or to make it allow, you set it to yes. If you don't want to allow it, then you set it to no. And then when you perform a lock on, after that, this command restrictions will come into effect. And just one more information. So this which command protection regarding national security is done by me. But there is one more colleague who has actually developed the which command, and her name is Pallavi Bakal, Pallavi Sapre. So she is responsible for these commands. So have a look, and this command is available in our coming October release, this year October release, and just give it a try. And if you find something more useful, or if you think this could be also enhanced, then do let us know that we could also think about it and we could enhance it more based on your request. Okay, so do we have any questions?
Dave,
So I
go
don't see
ahead.
questions.
I see a hand raised.
Hi.
What's the default mode going to be when we install 922, since it's a new option in national security?
So the default option is no.
Okay.
You mean, sorry, you are asking about the protection or the command restriction for which?
The command restriction.
Okay, if it is the command restriction, it will be by default allowed. That means it is set to yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. I guess Volker has the same question. So why is the default N and not Y? The default is Y, but in my example, I have just set it to no, just to demonstrate it that we can also set it as a disallowed. Only to explain it for the customer. Yeah. Okay, so do we have any further questions? If
Not for the
then,
which command at the moment.
Yeah, then back to you, Joachim.
So maybe I pass back to you, Nicole, as a moderator.
Certainly. Thank you guys for all of the presentations. I'd like to open the floor now to any questions you might want to ask our R&D colleagues. You raise your hand, give it a speak, and if there are questions you're just more comfortable to put in the chat, that's welcome as well. In fact, if you don't mind, we've got another question that just popped up in the chat that I'll ask the team. Is there an API for which?
Yeah, I will take it here. So currently, are you asking about the which command as a command to be used or to be set or allowed or disallowed from API? Or do you want to execute which command from API? What I don't understand the exact question.
Emmanuel responded command, or please feel free to come unmute your mic and engage in a dialogue if you'd like, but execute an API using EHICH.
I guess it meant which.
Sorry.
Yeah. Execute an API using which.
I understand. I guess no, there is not one because it's a system command, and we can't normally not execute any system command after an API. Sorry, Satya, for interrupting, but
no problem.
I understood. I think the question. Main reason is we don't have for the most of our system commands APIs. We just execute it over the stack, and you can execute it over the just normal stack commands like stack which and then execute it from there. That's mainly a reason. No, there's no user exit. As I said, you can only execute it by stack equals which and then use it from there.
Yeah, and from national security side, you could change using existing APIs for library protection.
Thank you. Any other questions? We're willing to stay a little after. If anyone has more questions, we're happy to address them now. If not, let me ask you guys to please consider taking our survey that you should be receiving in your inbox probably about a half hour after this meeting ends. It won't take you long to fill it out, but we really are interested in what additional topics you'd like to hear from the R&D team here at Software AG, whether it's more from the natural mainframe team, maybe it's the natural open systems, or maybe you want a combination with the natural plus Adabas team together. So please take a moment and take the survey. We really would appreciate your feedback. This was our first session doing something of this nature. I think given the responses in the chat and the delivery of the content, that this was a wonderful use of our time today, and I hope you feel it was too. So without any ado, if I don't see any additional questions coming through, I want to say thank you and let you know that this recording will be posted as well as the presentations. They will be available back on the Bevy platform and through the tech community. I ask that you give me till next week because it takes a little time for us to get all of the videos posted up on YouTube. So thank you. Have a great day, everyone, and appreciate you joining us.
Thanks for joining. Goodbye.
Bye.